Hello everyone and welcome to Daria Draws. Today I will be walking you through the process of creating an oil drawing. So it is not exactly an oil painting that is worked on for many months, and it is not a sketch either because we are still using the oil paint. It has a realistic yet dreamlike aesthetic, so if that sounds like something you would be interested in, just keep watching the video. As for the color scheme, I'm just using some of the leftover mixes that I have from the other artwork. So that would be a few oranges, a few blues, and a green, but they work perfectly for the idea that I have, so I didn't have to remix anything. And I'm going, of course, straight away with the orangey brown wash. It's going to be the first layer, and we will be working in that kind of color scheme for this sketch. Now I have made the first draft of a sketch using black liners on a separate piece of paper just to kind of collect my thoughts and organize the composition that will be later on the canvas. The wash doesn't have to be fully the same absolutely everywhere. It can have a certain gradient and brush strokes, so don't try to make it too perfect because it is not the thing that will, be the star of the painting. And using a similar shade but a bit darker so that it still stands out against the tone, I'm starting to sketch the figure. It is of course very loose, very diluted paint so that it is easily removed and blended in with the rest of the tone. Yeah, and we're doing a drawing, so we're not trying to prepare the values for the next step. Like, this is what we do now is kind of the end result. But still, I am erasing certain bits that I'm getting wrong and rebuilding it. So it really depends on the pose and the model that you have. In my case, it's just imagination and a little help from my anatomy book. But yeah, anyways, it's more of building a certain mood rather than thinking in advance what you'll need for the next sessions. And even though this is just a drawing, I am kind of doing the values a little bit so that certain shapes will be pushed backwards and certain shapes will pop into the front. So we have still a nice dynamic, and you can see that it's an actual living person. So you can see how from boxier shapes and rougher edges, I'm slowly redefining and refining all of the outlines. And it's nice here to play around with the fact that it is mostly line work. So in certain places where the light hits, the line would be thinner, and then when the form kind of goes in or in the shadow, the line can be a little thicker, and that will also add to the overall dynamic, even though the pose is quite static. And so far we're just working with the two shades, one of which is lighter orange and the other one is a little bit mixed with burnt sienna, so it's a darker orange. And basically, just to get lights, I'm removing the tone, the light orange from the canvas. To add more shadows, I'm just adding the darker orange, and that's pretty much it. So once I'm more or less happy with the overall outlines, I'm filling the body and the exposed skin with more skin tone shade, which is also that light orange, but it's a little denser, so it does have a slightly different feeling. And I'm also, of course, mixing in some of the even lighter orange that I had on my palette, so it is a little more dense and it stands out more against the background, because the background will stay pretty like transparent, almost watercolor like, and you also create a nice contrast in that as well, so in terms of density and textures. Even though I do want the background to be very light in terms of texture and density, I still want it to look vibrant, and I am organizing it in terms of brushstrokes. I want them to be horizontal, and yeah, basically the brushstrokes here are dictating the texture and the surface that the figure is sitting on. Now, using that dark green and blue mixes, I am kind of highlighting her swimming suit, and I think it's nice because there is a certain contrast in the temperatures as well, even though it is not too extreme. It's another way of creating contrast and making the piece just a little more interesting. And yeah, I'm just following the values, lights and shadows, and I'm also adding a little bit of that blue in her hair later on, so that it creates a nice connection to all the blue bits in the painting. Even though I don't want to have too many details, like the hands are pretty generalized in terms of shape, and I want her face not to have too many details either, I still want to show emotion and display some facial features, because I feel like it adds to the mood, and like that sun and the cool water of the pool and the cool swimming suit. So I really want to create that atmosphere, and of course, you can add so much motion without adding too much detail either. I feel like with this piece, less is more. So sometimes with artworks, it's so easy to overwork them and they will just lose their magic, and it's important to know when to stop. Of course, I could have gone into a lot of detail and made every finger look perfect, but I didn't want to do that, just because I wanted to create that that atmosphere that I talked about, and that wanted to convey that mood. And I feel like all the details and all the little perfections would have just killed it. so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can always subscribe to my channel to stay tuned for more upcoming videos, or watch either of those here, and I'll see you in the next one.